Good morning, everyone. Okay, 20th May 2022. Let's see which are the important articles relevant to our examination. Look at the first page. Supreme Court says center states have equal power to make GST related laws. So more clarity is being given by Supreme Court regarding the powers of taxing under GST law. Okay, so already the provisions are there in the Constitution. Article 246 is there, which gives states power to make laws with respect to GST. So the details we'll try to know here, which are the particular provisions in the Constitution regarding GST and what Supreme Court has said about this. Okay. Yes, it is relevant to our GS2 paper, polity part. Now, packing a punch. First page itself. Boxer Nikhat Zareen won the gold medal in World Boxing Championship. Okay, Women's Championship. So, it is important feat. Last year UPSC asked awards and let's say 1 or 2 questions from sports also. So, we can expect that UPSC may continue the trend. Okay, UPSC का एक आदत होता है कि 2-3 साल तक वो ट्रेंड कंटिन्यू करते हैं प्रीलिम्स में क्वेश्चन पूछने का. Okay, so there can be question related to sports from different sectors of sports. It can be boxing, it can be tennis, cricket. So we should be knowing important feats especially achieved by Indians. ठीक है, तो वहाँ पे डेटा भी दिया हुआ है कुछ, जैसे वर्ल्ड चैम्पियंस क्लब में इंडिया ने, जैसे मेरी कॉम 6 टाइम्स वर्ल्ड चैम्पियंस रह चुकी है. ओके, सो सम नेम्स आर मेंशन्ड देयर. फाइन. नाउ मूविंग ऑन, कम टू पेज नंबर 6. Okay, one article important, pockets of hope linking nature and humanity. The writer himself is associated with UNESCO. Okay, so he is writing about the importance of biosphere, okay, in the conservation measures. Okay, so environment conservation or nature conservation. GS3 paper, environment section, conservation is syllabus topic. Directly there can be question based on significance of biosphere reserves for nature conservation or sustainable development. Such kind of question can be there. The article specifically deals with biosphere reserves. Okay, so it talks about the importance of biosphere reserves and the UNESCO World Network of Biosphere Reserves program and Indian biosphere reserves. Quickly we'll also revise which are the Indian biosphere reserves included in World Network of Biosphere Reserves. There can be question in prelims also. Okay, yes. There is one article written, can India reimagine South Asia, on page number 7. The idea is good, although from debate some inputs can be taken, but this is new topic. Okay, can India reimagine South Asia? The article is written with the context of crisis in Sri Lanka that is going on and why India needs to intervene in India's neighborhood whenever such crisis is going on. And in, let's say, South Asia, such kind of crisis is going on in Sri Lanka, in Myanmar and in Pakistan also. Okay, and to some extent Nepal also, but to less extent comparatively. So all these neighboring countries, there is some kind of unrest going on. In Myanmar there is military rule. Okay, so democracy is at threat. In Sri Lanka economic crisis is going on and there can be again civil crisis because of it. In Pakistan political crisis was going on till recent time. Okay, so whether India needs to intervene or not and in what way India needs to intervene if it is supposed to. ठीक है, तो वो सारी चीज़ें वहाँ पे डिस्कस किए. ऑल्दो जो GS में IR में जैसे क्वेश्चन आना चाहिए वैसे हमें कंटेंट नहीं मिल पाएगा. PS IR ऑप्शनल सब्जेक्ट्स जिनका है, ठीक है, तो उन्होंने वो आर्टिकल पढ़ना चाहिए. ओके, यस. Now Come to page number 8, important article, text and context. Understanding India's ethanol blending policy. Yesterday we had followed the decision by the government regarding India's ethanol blending target, which was, we can say, given as 2025. Earlier it was 2030. So 20% ethanol blending in petrol by 2025, the new target. With that context, the article is written with background of ethanol blending program in India, the importance of ethanol blending. Along with that, it also talks about the challenges that are involved when such 20% blending is to be done, including the challenges related to automobiles and also environmental challenges. Okay, so quickly from science and tech and environment perspective, we will cover this part. Now, moving on. Yes, on page number 11. Pongyong Bridge construction is in occupied territory center on page number 11. So Pongyong Lake has been bone of contention, a point of conflict since that LAC conflict happened in Galwan Valley. Okay, so quickly we'll revise the points of conflict that are there along LAC. Okay, since 2020. About Pongyong, so lake also you should be aware the location and basic geographical aspect that it is saline, we can say lake. At the same time, we should also know that the particular lake is inland drainage system. It is inland drainage system that all streams from the surrounding region drain into that lake. Okay, so yes, from geography and IR section will cover this. Prime Minister Modi to fly to Japan for Quad Summit next week. Okay, so this agenda for next week of our Prime Minister will cover from IR section. Also, from time to time, we will discuss the outcome of that visit. Fine. Okay, so these are the important articles. Let's discuss them. First, pockets of hope linking nature and humanity. Now, this is very important article. This article should be also read by you because the writing is very good. It is written in very lucid form, and yes, the language that is used, it is also very good. So you can read that for your essay practice. Now, the main global drivers of biodiversity loss are 5 drivers. Which are these 5 drivers? Climate change, invasive species, over-exploitation of natural resources, pollution and urbanization. Now you tell me how these factors result into biodiversity loss. One by one. Climate change.
Loss of habitat.
Yes, why there is loss of habitat due to climate change?
Climate change leads to too many things. Melting of glaciers.
Yes, because of that, what is happening?
Rainfall,
Okay, but
drought.
directly linked to biodiversity loss.
If there is too much rainfall, then there are many species which are not able to live. They may be extinct.
Extreme temperature for plants.
And sir,
Simply, like, see, global warming is happening and the temperatures are high, including oceanic temperature. We will give example of coral reefs.
coral, sir.
है ना, डायरेक्टली एग्जाम्पल देना है यहाँ पर. कोरल रीफ्स, सो दे आर टेम्परेचर सेंसिटिव and coral reefs are having 25% of marine biodiversity. So the small change in oceanic temperatures will result into loss of biodiversity. One of the example you can give. There are other examples also on terrestrial biomes you can give. Okay, like for example, simply like climate change is resulting into extreme temperature, heat waves. Because of that, forest fires are happening. You give the example of Australian bushfire. है ना, ऐसे लिंक करना आना चाहिए आपको एग्जाम में. देन इन्वेजिव स्पेसीज, वाटर हाइसिंथ, हाँ, व्हाट यू आर सेइंग, एग्जैक्टली लिंक इट. how it happens, how biodiversity loss happens because of invasive species.
So native species gets deprived of the.
Yes, very good. So basically they are very competitive in nature in terms of harnessing resources, or the, let's say, sources that are required for their growth, and native species are not that much, we can say, able to compete with these invasive species. So invasive species wipe out native species from that region. The best example you can give is Congress grass.
The best example is also the pigeon that we.
Yes, you can give the example of pigeons also.
Yes,
Okay.
Europeans are.
Yes, so basically these are very competitive and they leads to loss of resources, basic, let's say, resources that are required for the growth of local species, we can say native species. Okay, so that because of that biodiversity loss happens. Okay, now over exploitation of natural resources.
Sir, like fishing, boat and trolling. in ocean.
Yes, yes, you can give that example also. You can give the examples in Park Bay, what is happening at present. Over exploitation of fish resource is resulting into biodiversity loss. Okay, unsustainable practices, fishing practices.
Sir, Amazon rainforest.
Yes, you can give that example. Lumbering that is having, illegal lumbering that is having in Amazon rainforest. So illegal felling of trees is happening there. Then mining in different parts of the countries, okay, including India, illegal mining, it is resulting into, we can say,
Sand mining.
sand mining. You can give example. It is resulting into loss of river ecology. Yes. Then pollution.
Pollution, so coral bleaching.
Yes, one of the example, but main example you give in terms of river pollution. Okay, so river pollutions or rivers are becoming dead zones completely. Okay, you can give the example of Yamuna itself. The stretch in Delhi, when it passes through Delhi, it is completely dead zone, you can say.
Damodar river.
Yes, other rivers you can give examples like Damodar river is there, or let's say in Mumbai, Pune, in Pune, Mulamutha river is there. Okay, so basically you should know that pollution is resulting into loss of river ecology and biodiversity per se. Okay, yes. Then urbanization.
So concretization, loss of forests, and encroachment upon wetlands.
Yes, very good. Encroachment upon wetlands or urban river bodies. This is major concern in recent times. Then also we can say felling of trees and changes in land use that is happening because of urbanization. So that is resulting into biodiversity loss. Fine. So you should be able to link with biodiversity loss such factors with examples in your answer. Now, because of our collective excesses, the ecological carrying capacity of the planet Earth has largely been exceeded. There was one question in mains examination, carrying capacity of the Earth. Okay, so Earth's carrying capacity is being exceeded because of the excess use of natural resources. Okay, so over exploitation of natural resources, along with that the externalities that are caused because of these activities, the negative impact on the environment, okay, including pollution is there. Okay, so it is resulting into let's say we are exceeding ecological carrying capacity of the planet. What is this carrying capacity? The level up to which it is able to, have the homeostasis, balance. The Earth is able to provide the ecosystem services or resources up to certain level, to certain demands. Beyond that, there will be negative feedback from the nature. There will be negative feedback, and this is what we are experiencing in climate change and global warming. Now, as a solution to this, the conservation is the solution, and biosphere reserves are key for nature conservation. Now, what is the concept of biosphere? We learn in GS3 paper environment section. In foundation batch also we are going to learn about this. So, biosphere is basically the concept involving living in harmony with nature. living in harmony with nature, keeping this in mind that both are important, that is the development of human being as well as nature conservation. So it is the blend of two objectives, sustainable development and nature conservation. Okay, and they are in line with each other, not in conflict with each other. Okay, so this is the concept of biosphere reserve. Are you getting this? So using natural resources or nature's, we can say, resources, ecosystem services for development purpose, but at the same time the conservation should be also there. The conservation should be also there. Now in South Asia, which there is a diverse set of ecosystems that are there. The writer is basically associated with UNESCO, and he is responsible for looking into the biosphere reserves of South Asia. So he is talking about diversity that is there. Ecosystem level diversity. There are 3 levels of diversity. What are these?
Diversity, genetic diversity.
Genetic diversity, species diversity, ecosystem diversity. Okay, so in South Asia, there is ecosystem diversity. For example, there are lofty mountains in the north, Himalayas, which are having glaciers and alpine ecosystem. Right, but on the southern side we have coastal, let's say, areas, tropical coastal areas which are having, we can say, marine ecosystems, marine coastal mangroves ecosystem. On the northwestern side we have desert ecosystem. Yes, tropical rainforest is there in northeast. Okay, so there is huge ecosystem level biodiversity, and this needs to be protected by declaring all these areas as biosphere reserves. But some of the countries have not yet declared any biosphere reserve. The example is mentioned, Nepal and Bhutan. Okay, so they have not yet declared any one single biosphere reserve to be included in world network of biosphere reserve. There are total 30 biosphere reserves in South Asia, and we know that 18 of them are in India itself. Okay, so remaining are in different countries. First biosphere to be declared in South Asia was in Sri Lanka. Okay, when this Man and Biosphere program was started by UNESCO, and it started keeping this world network of biosphere reserves since 1971. So first to be included in South Asia was in Sri Lanka, but from India in 2000, first to be included was, very good, Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. And latest one to be included is, update your information, it is Panna Biosphere Reserve, because some books may be mentioning about Kanchenjunga Biosphere Reserve 2018, but in 2020 or 21 last year it was added, Panna Biosphere Reserve. Okay, Madhya Pradesh. So this basic information can be asked in prelims examination also. Now UNESCO Biosphere Reserve has all developed science-based management plans where local solutions for sustainable human living, nature conservation are being tested and best practices are applied. So what is the use of a biosphere reserve getting included into world network of biosphere reserve maintained by UNESCO? First of all, it will get the scientific knowledge. Okay, best practices around the world are being shared, so scientific knowledge will be useful. Along with that, some kind of funding can be given by the UNESCO for the conservation purpose. Okay, so the sovereignty of the biosphere reserve remains with that country only. Okay, so that does not mean UNESCO or international organization is having any kind of control over that biosphere reserve. Okay, so it is just an international recognition for conservation purpose. Now quickly we'll revise the biosphere reserves of India. The red ones are included in the world network of biosphere reserve, and green ones, but this is not the latest map, this one is already included now, Panna Biosphere Reserve. Okay, so which are the red ones? Nanda Devi in Uttarakhand, then Kanchenjunga in Sikkim, Nokrek in Meghalaya, Sundarbans in West Bengal, Simlipal in Odisha, Achanakmar Amarkantak on the boundary between Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. Then in Madhya Pradesh, Panchmari and now Panna. So you can see in Madhya Pradesh almost 3 such biosphere reserves. All of them are included now in World Network. Then there is Nilgiri at the tri-junction of 3 states, Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Karnataka. Then there is Agastyamalai along the boundary between Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Then there is Marine Biosphere Reserve, Gulf of Mannar. Okay. And then there is Great Nicobar Biosphere Reserve in Andaman and Nicobar. Okay. So these are included, but the remaining in green, like here cold desert is there. Okay. So the rain shadow region of Himalayas, that is there. What we can say, Himachal Pradesh is having this cold desert region. I am not remembering exactly the names of the district. Okay, I will tell you about this. Cold desert, Himachal Pradesh, northern side district is there. So it is having, we can say, cold temperatures, but it is rain deficient area. So that's why it is cold desert. It is also, we can say, part of Ladakh. Ladakh is also cold desert kind of ecosystem. Then in Assam we have Manas and Dibru-Shikoha. Okay, Manas and Dibru-Shikoha. And then in Arunachal Pradesh, Dihang Dibang is there. Now coming to the, let's say, western part, Run of Kutch in Gujarat, Seshachalam in Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so these are the remaining biosphere reserves. Fine. So it is important for prelims examination. Now, yes, Supreme Court says center states have equal powers to make GST related laws. Okay, so yes, in a judgment championing the importance of cooperative federalism for well-being of democracy, it held that union and state legislatures have equal, simultaneous and unique powers to make laws on GST, and recommendations of GST Council are not binding on them. Okay, so GST being the advisory or recommendatory body only, so there is no compulsion on states to implement the recommendations. Then the apex court's decision came while confirming the Gujarat High Court ruling that center cannot levy IGST on ocean freights from Indian importers. Okay, so IGST is not to be implemented on the imports. Simply remember this part. Now this is, we can say, also very important in terms of judiciary, let's say, interpreting this policies which are the economic policies. Okay, like authority to levy, we can say, the tax on imports and exports or which particular goods and services. But that is fine, because we should know that whatever mentioned in the constitution, that is being interpreted by the Supreme Court. Article number, the court emphasized Article 246A, which gives states power to make laws with respect to GST of the constitution, treat the union and states equal units. Now I wanted to highlight one very good statement on, this can be asked in the GS2 paper as a question statement. Okay, it is the statement by the judge itself in this verdict. The federal system is means to accommodate the needs of, we can say, pluralistic society in a democratic manner. Democracy and federalism are interdependent. This statement, democracy and federalism are interdependent. Federalism would only be stable in a well-functioning democracy. This statement, and there can be question, discuss the relationship between democracy and federalism. So you attempt this question. Okay, you have to give some examples here, how well-functioning democracy is important for federalism. ठीक है, fine.
Gold desert, Lahul Spiti.
Lahul and Spiti districts. Yes, very good. So Lahul and Spiti districts of Himachal Pradesh, they are part of cold desert. Okay. Yes, we are talking about ethanol blending program or policy of India. Recently, the government took decision, amended National Biofuel Policy 2018, and the target year earlier was 2030. It is advanced to 2025 for 20% of ethanol blending to petrol. Now, why it is significant? Ethanol blending. Okay, so first of all, we should know that majority of the, let's say, major use of the crude oil or petroleum products happens in vehicles, and it is responsible for large scale, let's say, consumption of this petroleum products. Almost 80 to 85% of these petroleum products are imported, or crude oil is imported into India. So this results into huge burden, economic burden, we can say. First thing. Second thing, there can be always volatility in terms of prices of crude oil in the international market. This is resulting into high prices of petrol and diesel. Okay, so it is contributing to high inflation also. Third thing, we should know the pollution aspect. Pollution. Okay, so vehicular pollution is important contributor for the air pollution. Okay, and the ethanol blending will result into less pollution because it burns cleanly compared to petrol. Especially carbon monoxide is not emitted through burning of ethanol. Okay, so this is also very important aspect. Fine. And yes, as a source, ethanol can be sourced from the agriculture products, and India is agriculture country. Okay, so we have ample amount of, we can say, land to produce such kind of crops or products, and they can be used for production of ethanol. So overall, we can say one of the study Niti Aayog committee report suggested that 20% ethanol blending will result into this much saving. Okay, 30,000 crore annually, that too. So this is good thing. What is the history of ethanol blending in India? Quickly, we can see the background. In 2002, India launched ethanol blending petrol program, eBJP, with, let's say, began selling 5% ethanol blended petrol in 9 states and 4 union territories. But it was very, slow progress until recent times. Since 2015, Ministry of Road Transport and Highways notified E5. See, E5, E10, E20. When they are in news, suppose there is question in prelims examination, E10, E20 sometimes seen in news is related to which of the following? Basically, these are biofuel standards. These are biofuel standards. Okay, so E5 is blending of 5% of ethanol with 95% of gasoline. Right. So there can be question in prelims examination like this. Now, in 2019, Ministry notified E10 fuel. See, after 2015 E5, E10 fuel was notified. See, E10 notification means basically it is guideline to the automobile makers that your engines should be in line with this blending standards. Okay, so these are fuel standards, we can say. And now the recent notification or amendment to National Biofuel Policy on Biofuels, 20% target by 2025, and at present we have achieved around 9% of the blending target. Okay, so the government is sure that by the end of this year we will achieve 10%. Okay, and here onwards aggressively it is being promoted. Now, how does this affect engines? This is also important concern. We can say up to, let's say, E10, 10% of blending, there was no issue. There was no largely issue because the engines were adapted, or we can say they were calibrated to this fuel. There was no major change required in engines. But E20 will require major changes and it will increase the cost of the vehicles. So it is one of the proposal that the consumers should be given some tax incentives. to buy those automobiles with E20 standards. Okay, that can be one of the approach. One more thing we should know, that there is loss of some kind of fuel efficiency in four-wheelers and two-wheelers when they shift to ethanol blended fuel. Okay, and that needs to be worked upon with modifications in engine so as to reduce this loss. Then what is the international experience? This is also, we can say, we can give the example. Flex fuel engine technology or vehicles that run entirely on ethanol are popular in Brazil. Entirely on ethanol. Okay, and comprise nearly 80% of total number of new vehicles sold in 2019. You can imagine that in a developing country like Brazil, such kind of initiative is taken. You can give the success story. But one problem is that in India, the prices of ethanol produced are higher compared to US or Brazil or around, let's say, world. Why? Because MSP is given to some of these crops. Like minimum support price is given by the government. And this MSP is comparatively higher. Okay, so the overall cost of production of ethanol goes on increasing because of this. One challenge, this one other challenge. Then environmental cost of ethanol blending. See, in answer directly you write 1, 2, 3 these challenges under different headings for ethanol blending. Okay, so environmental costs, like the test conducted in India have shown that there is no reduction in nitrous oxide. Okay, although it is free of carbon monoxide, but nitrous oxide is one of the irritant, we can say, vehicular pollution. Yes, so nitrous oxide, this is problematic, but it is not reduced with the help of this ethanol blending. One more challenge. Then one of the report suggests that to have this blending by 2025, we require more ethanol production, and for that purpose it will need to bring 30,000 additional square kilometer land to come under maize cultivation. One of the estimate. Okay, so they have suggested that half of this land can be more efficiently used for solar power production instead of maize cultivation. Okay, so this is alternative available.
Shifting to electric.
So there is more cleaner ways of production of, we can say, energy, and we can shift to EV instead of ethanol blending.
Right.
More efficient, right? And more sustainable also, because solar energy is, we can say that unending, it is renewable source of energy. Okay. One more thing is related to, we can say, water thirsty crops, water intensive crops like sugarcane. So one of the estimates suggests that a liter of ethanol from sugar requires about 2,860 liters of water. Can you imagine this? So it is not sustainable. And sugarcane production happens in certain areas only. Again, it cannot be grown on rocky surfaces or cold climates or something like that. So these are again important challenges. You should write in this your answer these facts supporting the studies, data, their findings, experts' views. They are important for our examination. Okay? Yes. Now, there was one question in UPSC 2020. I wanted to give relevance also. How you can relate these things to your examination. How question was asked. Look at this question. Some of you may have given this examination also. It was tricky. Okay, because in original format you should know how many crops are included from which the biofuels can be produced or are allowed to produce.
So most probably
See, first thing we should understand that एक लॉजिक यूज़ करिए, ठीक है. लॉजिक कैसे यूज़ करना है मैं बताता हूँ आपको ऐसे क्वेश्चन में, फैक्चुअल वाले, ठीक है. वी डोंट नो द नेम्स ऑफ ऑल क्रॉप्स हियर, so it is always confusing. In India, since last 2-3 years or in general, there is problem of low production of oil seeds. Low production of oil seeds, and there is always concerns related to high prices of edible oil. Okay, and this has been the trend. Now, groundnut that is grown in the country. Can you imagine groundnut being allowed to, sold to this ethanol production unit when edible oil prices are so high? You can use this logic. Okay, you don't know exactly what are, let's say, number of this, but you can eliminate certain things. If you eliminate 3, you eliminate this one, this one, this one, you get the correct answer. You need not to know all 6. Are you getting this? So basically, when we saw this paper, when we, let's say, it was difficult question for students because students do not go in detail of all policies and all these things. Okay, but some students mark this correct using logic, and such kind of logic needs to be used. ठीक है? Okay, fine. Pongyang-so Lake. Okay, so the bridge is being constructed by China over the occupied territory of India. The Indian government is claiming this. Okay, earlier there was makeshift bridge being constructed, but now it is understood that that bridge is temporary structure being used for construction of permanent structure now.
Yes, sir.
ऐसा पता चल रहा है हमें, ठीक है. So that bridge is being constructed where the narrow point that is located here. Okay, जो छोटा सा narrow एक एज जा रहा है वहाँ से easily वो construct हो सकता है. See, this is the Pongyang-so Lake, and this part is Chinese claim line and Indian claim line is this one. Okay, for our understanding, for security perspective, there are, let's say, mountain peaks being used as finger points here. The name is given as fingers, like they look like this, like you can see. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 fingers are there, and these fingers are used as reference points. Indian government or India consider up to 8 finger as Indian territory, but China claims it up to standard. Basically, it claims up to 4, but at present we can say that this is the situation. Okay, Indian, let's say, armed force establishments, they patrol up to this point, and Chinese up to this. Yes, finger 4. But India says that we should be able to, patrol up to finger 8. It is our territory. But Chinese do not allow that. Okay, so you should be knowing about this situation. Pongyang-so Lake, it is saline lake. It is inland drainage. Basically, all small streams from these mountains, they drain into this. And it is saline lake, and one of the important high altitude saline lake. There are 2 such saline lakes. In nearby region there is other lake named So Miriri.
Yes,
Okay, Pongyang-so Lake and So Miriri.
Yes, sir.
You can locate this 2 on atlas. So Miriri. अच्छा, कल एक क्वेश्चन मैंने पूछा था होमवर्क के लिए. कहाँ पे है? वेस्ट अफ्रीका. Okay, on the southern side. Yes, ठीक है. Okay, so we wanted to revise the flash points since April 2020. Okay, so from north to south, you should know the sequence. Karakoram Pass, this is the Karakoram Pass, and from that on the bottom side you can see Depsang Plains, Galwan Valley. This conflict happened, around 40 Indian soldiers died here in that conflict. 20? Okay, 20 soldiers died here at Galwan Valley. Then Hot Springs, this region. Then Pongyang-so Lake, northern bank and southern bank. Both were the points of conflict. Okay, so these 4 were the important the hot spring and Gogra Valley, it is nearby located region. So from north to south, you should know the sequence here, location. Prime Minister Modi to fly to Japan for Quad Summit next week. So in Japan, he will be meeting with the counterparts. There are some important points to be discussed in Quad grouping. There will be let's say discussion on vaccine distribution, critical technologies, cyber security, space, climate change, and other issues. When the question is asked on Quad, you should know the areas of cooperation. Okay, areas of cooperation, recently vaccine is there, emerging technologies, then cyber security, space is also there, and climate change.
But the vaccine part is like it.
Yes, recently we covered that part, it is getting delayed. Now the other aspects is again Russia-Ukraine war is there, that may be discussed. Along with that, India's export ban decision, that is being, let's say cause of concern. US and other countries, they may ask India to revoke that ban. Okay, so yes, we will have follow up on the outcome. Packing a punch, boxer Nikhat Zareen. So she won this women's championship, World Women's Championship in Istanbul. So this is, we can say, important achievement. Now, Nikhat is the only Indian woman to clinch 2 golds at this Strategia Memorial Tournament. She had also won the World Junior title in Antalya in 2011. World Junior title भी उन्होंने जीता हुआ है. She is the 5th Indian women boxer to be crowned as world champion. The other 4 are Mary Kom, Sarita Devi, Jenny RL, Lekha Casey. Okay, so this, trivial information from miscellaneous perspective you should know, because UPSC is asking such questions. Yes, what should be answered? It's kind of, pictographic memory, है ना? अभी देखा और उसके ऊपर क्वेश्चन पूछा, है ना? Yes. So this should be your practice also. Suppose you are reading NCERT and you have just looked into the map, ऐसा रख देना है उसको और फिर मेमोरी में याद करना है उसका कहाँ पे लोकेशन है. Okay. Yes. So yes, first or A is correct answer. Depsang Plain, the highest or northernmost point, then Galwan Valley, then Hot Springs, and then Pongangso. Fine? Okay. A is correct answer.
So just
हाँ.
okay.
Yes. Do we have any question? Okay, we'll stop then.
So critical technologies.
Critical technologies or emerging technologies, like for example blockchain technology is there, okay, or in terms of let's say quantum computing is there, emerging technologies they are there. Okay. Fine, let us stop then.